I'm going to call a red flag for what I believe it is. I've been seeing a lot on social media and different channels, programs that people can take for self transformation that apparently happens in a rather shorter period of time. It looks like a band aid, and honestly, personal transformation comes from the inside out. I'm not saying that they're getting that wrong, but I just don't vibe with it. It seems like it happens too fast. It seems like it's something that is like a quick fix to your life, which obviously is such an easy seller to this day and age of instant gratification and everything. Um, no names. I'm not going to, like call anybody out at all. It's just that, like, this video is more so looking at the reality of personal transformation and recognizing that when anybody wants to change their life in general on a very profound and deep level, you have to understand this. It doesn't happen overnight, because where you are right now, that you're looking for transformation, that you're looking for such drastic change in your life, you got to that point with unconscious and subconscious hardwiring over eons. When I say eons, I don't literally mean eons. I mean days, months, years of being that way specifically, right? Your entire system got very used to being that way. Not to mention the trauma from childhood that made it, right? So, whenever I see these programs transform your life in, you know, X amount of time, usually referring to, I don't know, weeks, months, a year, I don't know, right? Um, to transform a person's life, and I'm not going to say that everyone is the same. I understand that people are different, right? But to really transform your life, you've got to understand what it is that fucked you up in the first place, right? You need to understand the roots of everything, right? A lot of people, what they're trying to do, I'll use this metaphor because I think that it's very helpful. A lot of people, what they're trying to do is they're trying to put a fucking filter on the head of their faucet, when what they really need to do is take care of the fucking well, right? Because you can put a filter on your faucet, but that filter is just really a band-aid, and it's probably not going to last long, right? Um, for instance, if you want to start forming healthier relationships, right? You might decide to partake in a program that doesn't actually inform you on behalf of the dynamics of enmeshment, right? Enmeshment is not a healthy way to conduct relationships at all, right? And you might not realize that the way that you're going about relationships is unhealthy. And that program might only walk you through the symptoms of, like what it is that you're doing. Oh, do this instead of that. Well, no. I think the most beneficial thing that you can do for a person who's trying to have healthier relationships and stop indulging in enmeshment is for them to understand the enmeshed system that they came from, the enmeshed dynamics that they came from, that made them, that really formed who they were and why they are the way that they are in their enmeshed relationships, right? Um, I see a lot of programs out there. I see a lot of quick fixes and everything, right? Um, and I'm not saying that there's absolutely no value in these things at all whatsoever, but what I am here to do is say that personal transformation takes a really fucking deep dive. It requires a really deep dive. To do a sustainable long-term change in your life, you really need to fucking know yourself. And addressing symptoms is more so a band-aid. Like, hey, think about it this way instead of that way. You can do that. You can take the approach of changing your thoughts, this, that, and the other, and I'm all for it. But what I'm even more so for is looking at the deeper shit that happened in your life to be able to clear that up. Because one of the most important things to understand about personal transformation is that it's a matter of changing your energy. You change your energy when you do the deeper dive and you actually feel the feelings that you need to feel in regards to the people that fucked shit up in your life, right? And that helps clear out that, right? It's really like you can put a band-aid over the pain and over the anger. You can. But that band-aid is probably going to fall off at some point, right? And I feel like a lot of these programs out there that are like transform your life in, this amount of time, do this workshop, this, that, and the other, I feel like they're more so band-aids. And they appear as, um, kind of like red flags because like you're not going deep with the individual when, you're doing these seminars. You're just talking about these kinds of things that could help them, right? It's not about helping a person. It's about taking a person and with them diving deep into the fabric of their fucked upness, into the fabric of their childhood, into the fabric of the different dynamics that they experienced, you know? Um, and that's the reality of it, like I used to be on the game of motivation and inspiration and, like change and everything. There is so much potential for an individual to be released from the limitations of their life if they get to the fucking root of things, right? I see a lot of people trying to put that filter on the faucet head to try to change what comes out, right? I see programs like that. I see them as a band-aid, right? Um, I see retreats like that. Now they're not good or bad or right or wrong, but I just don't see them as effective as doing the deeper work because the reality of serious, sustainable, long-term personal transformation on a very deep and high level um, is like actually knowing yourself. And not everybody can help you get to that point, right? Not everyone is good enough at like actually taking you down that fucking rabbit hole and discovering what the fuck happened in your life. And then from there, at that point, navigating you to understand what it is that you need to do. Um, I just see it for what it is. I recognize that, you know, we live in an era of instant gratification. We live in an era of people wanting their life to, transform and change. And believe me, I'm a big believer in things like, really going fucking hard in, wiring in new identity. I am. I'm 100% that. But like, it's really important to understand that shit doesn't just go away because you do different things. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can, habituate your life and everything and create um new structures moving forward. You can and everything. But like you're really just like covering up what needs to be cleared out, right? Like there's this entire universe of shit, right? And these programs are like the band-aid over top of it rather than the exploration of that shit and the clearing out of that shit, right? And I just don't think that they're that effective. I really don't. That's just my take on it, and I'm being brutally honest about this because like for years of my life I was very stuck. I was very stagnated. And by the way, I'm not here to like in this video specifically, I'm not here to be like click the link below and go join my webinar, no, I'm really here to get to the fucking roots of shit and talk about the reality of what I believe are red flags that are these short-term programs that don't actually offer sustainable long-term change. They're not good or bad or right or wrong, and I'm not here to say don't do them, and I'm also not here to say um, that there's not some level of value in them. But what I am here to say is that on the level of like deep personal transformation, like I really believe that any individual needs to know themselves and needs to know what it is that fucked them up, so that they can better understand the fucking gashes in the ego state, the marring, the scathing, all of that shit. Um, we definitely want things to be different fast, especially in this era. Anything fast is a fucking red flag, in my honest opinion. Anything that seems like it's very powerful and in a short amount of time, I'm going to call it a fucking red flag. I'm going to call it for what I believe it is. And I think that it's something to look out for. Um, Personal transformation, changing yourself is, I believe, the hardest work you'll ever do in your life. And because I mean, like, think about it. Like, if you really believe that your life can change overnight, you need to understand the gravity of what that would entail, right? Think about how much of our lives are spent on autopilot, unconscious and subconscious behaviors, right? Repetition compulsion, right? Just repeating patterns from the past. The comfort and the familiarity that comes with all of that, right? To then think that things are going to change in a week, in a month, in months, in a year, you're likely just to scratch the surface of shit, if anything. Like the very surface. You're likely to like put your finger on the fucking surface and look at the fucking dust and be like, what the fuck is that? Right? So to think that you're actually going to sustainably over the long term change your life with a program that offers, short term shit, I don't fucking buy it, and I think it's a red flag. Anything quick, anything fast, would definitely appear like a red flag to me. That's just the way that it is. And this is not to like learn things that are outside of the self and personal transformation. Like if you're learning like a skill, that's different. But like anything regarding yourself and serious personal transformation that doesn't take a lot of time, that takes a week, a month, months, a year. Um, I'm not going to say that there's no value in that at all whatsoever, but what I'm going to say is the promise that it is going to transform your life permanently. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not here to judge anything. I'm not here to claim fact or truth, but what I am here to do is say that it all seems like a fucking red flag to me.